companies, they're choosing the leaders of the Muslim, of the Christians, and of the Jewish people. And they choose people that are dedicated to hatred,
Got another speaker here.
dedicated to division, and dedicated to and dedicated to buying weapons. This is what the Israel war in Gaza is. This is what the Russian war is. This is what World War II is. These wars are all thematic. These wars are fueled by the weapon companies and by the oil companies. And they pay for your religious leaders to spout their insanity.
They need to make money somehow.
Who?
These weapon companies and oil companies.
Gentleman just here said the weapon companies need to make money. Do you think it's a good idea making money off the murder of Muslims, Jewish people and Christians? You're happy with that?
No, I'm
So
not.
why did you just say a moment ago they need to make profits?
No, they need to make money, don't they? It's a form of, I don't know. I just said it as a general question.
And are you disgusted that
I am, yes.
murdering Jewish people means that the share prices of weapon companies go up? Are you disgusted by that?
I am, yeah.
And do you know that these weapon companies and oil companies, they pay for your religious leaders to to perpetuate
I'm not a religious
insane
man.
ideas? Sorry?
I'm not a religious man.
Sorry, alright, you're not religious. But you are aware there are religions.
Yes.
So
I'm a religious man.
your religions
I'm a religious
are
man.
not dedicated to spirituality. Your religions are not dedicated to have a relationship with God. Your religions are paid for by oil companies and weapon companies. And guess what they tell your religious leaders? They tell your religious leaders to hate Jewish people, to hate Muslims, to hate Christians, and pick up one of their weapons that they've just developed, and they'll sell it to you, and then they'll give it to you for free, so that you murder each other. Almost finished, but within a second. Yes. Guess what? The weapons are put in your hands. They'll give you those for free. They won't give you a house for free. They won't give you health for free. They won't give you an education for free. But if you're interested in murdering Jewish people, interested in murdering Muslims or Christians or anyone that says war is terrible, they give you the weapons for free. They give you a house for free then, called barracks. They give you food and free health, as long as you're dedicated to the idea of murdering the Jewish people, Muslims or Christians. Then they'll give you everything for free. Sorry, what is your question?
My question,
Mike.
my question is, I must admit that to a degree what you're saying is correct, but before the weapons companies were actually in existence, many of these religions already existed.
Okay.
And no, and they were still fighting against one another. Now, there are some religions that have built into them that they must fight war. And there are other religions that is built into them that they must make peace. So I think that distinction should be made.
So all the religions are Abrahamic religions. And they're not, the Abrahamic religions are dedicated to perpetuate war and genocide. That is the very foundation stone.
Christianity
Just
not.
read how insane your religious, religious leaders in your text are. How they're happy to murder their own children. How they're happy to commit a genocide.
Okay. Good to see you, man.
How they're happy to commit horrors. That's what happens in the Bible. It normalizes genocide in the Bible.
So why does the Bible say make this statement? I know what you're saying. In
So
the
you
Old
agree with what I'm
Oh, we
saying?
got another streamer here called Mark Kelly.
And the Bible is fundamentally built on the idea of an apocalypse, which is a genocide justified by a made-up God.
All right.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but a genocide made up on a made-up God, which kills the majority of Jewish, Christians, and Muslims, by the way, and then it the chosen few nutters that they think they get to heaven. Oh, guess what? It's going to be the rich kids. Guess what? It's just that little group that get paid by oil companies and weapon companies that get to Christian heaven because they're happy to fuel and perpetuate a genocide, not only in Gaza, not only in Israel, not only in Russia, but World War II and the last 3,000 years of history.
Why did Jesus Christ say, love your enemies?
Famous.
Why did Jesus Christ? Let me finish.
Actually, you
He's
finish.
laughing at that.
I am
So,
finished.
He's been
so
around
what
a long
this
time.
man's saying is,
Why
it
did
doesn't
Jesus
matter.
Christ die shall
Doesn't
not
matter
kill?
what your religious text says. It matters what you do individually. That's what matters. It doesn't matter how holy you think you are. It doesn't matter how close to God you think you are. It doesn't matter what the text says about love thy neighbour. What matters is what you do. And Christianity has been a crusade of genocide across the world. That doesn't sound very holy, does it? Committing mass murder,
As a
not only of Muslims,
Sorry.
but of Christians as well.
A
World War
Christian
II,
is somebody-
World War II
the word
was a
Christianity-
Christian war,
the word-
murdering
The word
Christian people.
Christianity means be like
World War
Christ.
II, Hitler
When
was a Christian.
Jesus Christ did not
Hitler
kill
was a
anybody
Christian,
in any
and guess
war.
who helped fuel Hitler's genocide?
Jesus Christ did not
The
kill
weapon
anybody
companies,
in
the
any
oil companies.
war. So
They helped
say
back
how a
Hitler
Christian
into power.
can be Christ-like
That is exactly what the
doing
Abrahamic
what Jesus
religions are
Christ did
about.
not do.
This is what Israel, Gaza,
Look, answer the question,
Palestine,
sir.
Russia, World War II, and all the wars that have ever happened in the last 3,500 years have
Answer
been
the
there
question.
solely
If
to
Jesus
make the
Christ
rich
never
rich.
carried out
Solely
or
to
sent
sell
anybody
weapons.
to war,
Because
how
weapon
can you be
companies
like Christ
are not a recent
without-
invention.
without
Weapon companies, because guess
acting in a way
what?
that is like
You need a
Christ?
company to make the armor. You need to.
Sir, your narrative is
swords.
wrong.
You need companies
Yes,
to
Batman.
produce all
Your
these
narrative
horrors.
has
And guess what?
huge
The weapon
Yes,
companies get
Catwoman.
paid
Thank you,
very,
sir.
very well. And it's gone back millennia.
Jesus Christ says, love your enemies.
And the Abrahamic
Jesus Christ
religions
says,
have
Christ shall
dedicated
not
themselves
kill.
to
So how can you
genocide.
call yourself a Christian
And you
if you
ignore
are a
the last
genocidal person?
3,500
No,
years
you
of
can't be a follower of
history.
Jesus Christ.
And the last 3,500 years of history is justifying genocide in the holy text. Written, by the way, by a rich kid. Your holy books were written by rich kids. Buddhism, Bible, Torah, all written so the rich stay rich.
Is there any
and the poor
questions
stay
you'd like me
poor,
to ask the speaker?
And justifying the slaughter. That's what the root. That is the root cause of the Abrahamic religions: slavery, war, genocide. Just read the New Testament, the Old Testament. Read what it says about slavery. Read what it says about sin, apocalypse. Read what it says about justifying genocide. You need to stand up to your religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and tell them you're sick of murdering Jewish people. You're sick of murdering Muslims. You're sick of murdering Christians. That's what you need to tell your religious leaders. And then you need to make yourselves part of the religion, not just the followers, but make yourself the leaders and preach what you truly want to preach, which is love is the true source of your religions. Then let me see you preach that. Let me see you act upon that. Let me see you stand against your religious leaders who have spent the last 3,500 years committing genocide. Because that's what Gaza's about. Israel, Russia, Ukraine, World War II, and go back to the Crusades. It's all been slaughter of the poor for the profit and the pleasure of the rich. And guess what? We have the same families permanently in power and permanently addicted to the genocide, not only in modern times, but going back millennia. Because guess what? when you're murdering, raping people, religion suddenly sounds very sensible. Suddenly, desperate ideas suddenly sound very normal and reasonable, where things like fueling, funding education, funding free health, funding social services,
mystery.
suddenly that looks quite insane. Where in a city where you're being raped and murdered so that some rich kid can sell you a weapon. Because remember what I just said, if you were happy to murder Jewish people, a Muslim or a Christian, they will give you a gun for free to do that. They will give you a house for free. They'll give you free education, free health, as long as you pick up a gun and start murdering Jewish, Muslims and Christians. And that has been the history of the world. The poor can't afford swords. The poor can't afford war. But who can afford it? Who gives you the weapons to murder Jewish people, Muslims and Christians? Who gives you the weapons to commit genocide?
This man who gives the weapons.
The rich give you money, give you
He
weapons
said, "I'll
to
give you
commit
the weapons."
genocide. Because guess what? War is a rich boy's game. Because all it is a game. On the 7th, just recently, last year, loads of Jewish people were murdered. And guess what? The share prices of weapon companies went through the roof. They celebrated Jewish people being slaughtered, did the weapon companies. And then they celebrated the Muslims being slaughtered and the Christians being slaughtered. The weapon companies, they celebrated the people that own shares in weapon companies. They celebrated because they're getting rich. Who thinks getting rich off murdering Muslims is a good idea? Put your hand up. Anyone? Hey, put your hand up, you think murdering Jewish people for profit is a good idea? Put your hand up. Anyone? No. What about murdering Christians for making some profit? Anyone? Good
Who are you
idea?
attacking? Religions or companies? Pardon? Who are you attacking? Religions or companies? I'm not really sure.
Religions, I'm arguing that religions are companies.
Religions
They are not anymore anything to do with spirituality
I
or
have one
God.
question. I have one question.
Cult equals
Joseph
control.
Stalin, he was an atheist. And he killed 6 to 9 million people in this whole fucking world. And he was not religious at all. And he's also a killer. And so why are you putting the idea that just people that are religious, these are the only people that actually kill?
So you're right about Stalin.
Stalin, Joseph
Mass murderer.
Stalin, 6 to 9 million people.
Is Stalin alive today?
He's not alive, but
He's not alive.
What's your
But
attack?
are the weapon companies alive? It's a genocide today.
It's not about religion, man.
Yes, it is fundamentally.
How is
Guess
it
this, ladies and gentlemen.
I asked
Stalin was brought up by a priest.
No,
Stalin
he's not.
was brought up
He
by a
clearly
priest.
said in
He
his
was
book and
brought
his
up to be a
writing
fundamentalist
that he's
Christian.
atheist.
Was Stalin.
He was
He got his
atheist.
ideas from religion.
What
His
idea?
ideas of genocide.
In his writings,
Which is
he
why
clearly
he
said
sided
that
with
he's an
Hitler.
atheist.
Pardon?
In his writings, he clearly said he was an atheist. So he killed 6 to 9 million people. What do you call him?
Yeah, you said that. So
What do you call him?
Hitler, Stalin, he brought back religion back into Russia. Religion back as the defining force.
Maximus.
And he also killed atheists and communists. Because
He was a communist.
because what do we all know Stalin for? We all know Stalin
Was Marx-
murdered communists.
No, he was a maximum communist, man.
Stalin's famous for murdering communists because he was not a communist. What Stalin was another religious fanatic. And it doesn't matter if you're an atheist or religion, doesn't matter. If you are murdering people, you should go to jail. If you are murdering people, you go to jail. No matter the excuse or lies that you tell yourself.
A commentator put the primitive early humans tribes also had weapons but weren't funded by the rich. They made axes themselves.
When society, I said 3,500 years ago.
Right, okay.
I didn't say from the very beginning of time.
Right, okay.
Because even weapon companies had to be invented. But there's always been a resource competition. So in those times, those early tribes, 100,000 years ago, and their to recent history, they would have competed for resources.
Right.
This is something unavoidable.
Yeah.
But no longer do we ever need to compete for resources. No longer do we need to deny people food. No longer do we deny people wealth, liberty, humanity, poetry, creativity, love. Because now we are a society civilized. We have transcended this sickness of hatred. We've transcended psychopaths. We are now a society where we have free health in the UK. Free health. The only reason you don't have free health in your country is because it's run by psychopaths. The only people that want to sell you weapons, deny you free health, social services, free education, etc., is because psychopaths own your government. Psychopaths own your religion. Psychopaths own the businesses. And they need to own that, because if they didn't perpetuate your religion into permanent genocide, they have no existence anymore. The psychopath has no purpose anymore. So the psychopath is dedicated to perpetuate genocide and make sure that religions are built on said genocide. Because without that, psychopaths have got nothing to do all day. Because guess what? The majority of people on this planet are not murderers. They're not full of hate and violence and shocking desires to hurt people. But the psychopath, the rare and very small part of our society, he's been aware that modern civilization threatens psychopath's existence. That's common sense. How can you be a psychopath in a society that says killing people is illegal? How can you be a psychopath when there is a human rights law stopping your religious leaders and your companies from committing mass genocide? The psychopath knows this. It's common sense. So therefore the psychopath must own people like this man here, a religious fundamentalist who's owned, who's educated, whose whole existence is built and paid for by psychopaths. That's you just saw an example walk by. In a society where the idea that free education, free health, free social services, a democracy, in that society, the psychopath is finished. So, psychopath goes to religion, goes to the head of your businesses, goes to the head of your political spheres, takes over and dominates. This is why you're not allowed human rights law. This is why you're not allowed free health. The majority of the world doesn't have free health and dies through poverty, unnecessary diseases, unnecessary childbirth dying. That is the reality. The psychopath must always create. They are dedicated to that existence. The psychopath is dedicated primarily to stopping you having free health and education. Because when the people are educated, they can say no to psychopaths. They can build legal systems to end psychopaths, put them in prison when they murder people or plan genocide. they can go to jail. But unless we are educated, unless we have society, culture, religion, spirituality run by the people of this world, not run by psychopaths, then we can have a world, instead of murdering each other, instead respecting, learning each other's traditions, learning to love not only other people but ourselves, which in itself is a massive hurdle. Any questions?
That's it for now.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.